The Egale Mindset, Audiobook Summary. Chapter 1. The visionary's flight. In the small town of Roswell, nestled between vast mountains, there lived a young man named Marcus. He wasn't born into wealth or power, but he had something that others didn't, a deep and unwavering belief that he was destined for greatness. People around him were satisfied with their lives, content with the routines they followed. But Marcus felt a tug within him, urging him to soar higher, just like an eagle. Every day, Marcus would wake up at dawn not to simply go through the motions but to work on himself. He wasn't interested in mediocrity. Instead of watching the world pass by, he would focus on honing his skills, learning from every failure and visualizing the future he wanted. But one day, after hearing about the success of others, Marcus questioned his path. He stood at the edge of a cliff staring into the unknown. What if I'm not meant for greatness? What if I'm just another face in the crowd? But then he thought of the eagle, a bird that doesn't fear the storm but flies through it, high above the clouds. With renewed determination, Marcus promised himself to follow his vision no matter the challenges ahead. Chapter 2. The Power of Focus. As time passed, Marcus realized that the secret to the eagle's flight wasn't just strength, but focus. In a world full of distractions, he learned that achieving his goals required laser-like concentration. While everyone around him was juggling 1,000 different tasks, Marcus made a commitment to master one thing at a time. The more he focused, the clearer his goals became. He broke down his dream into manageable steps, eliminating anything that didn't contribute to his growth. Slowly, he began to rise above the chaos of everyday life. One day, a close friend approached him, asking for help with a project. The friend offered him a way to make quick money, but Marcus saw it as a potential distraction. Despite the temptation, he declined. He knew that his purpose was greater than short-term gains. The eagle's focus, after all, wasn't divided. It was singular and unwavering. The more Marcus practiced the art of focus, the more doors began to open. Opportunities that once seemed distant and out of reach now appeared within his grasp. Chapter 3. Overcoming the storm. 1 year into his journey, Marcus faced his biggest test yet. A sudden crisis shook his life. A business venture he had invested in collapsed overnight and his savings were drained. Everyone around him expected him to quit, to abandon his dreams. People who once admired him now questioned his choices. It was in this moment of despair that Marcus remembered the eagle. The eagle, when faced with a storm, doesn't turn back. Instead, it flies directly into the storm, using the wind to gain altitude and soar higher. With this thought in mind, Marcus refused to give up. He began to rebuild his life with renewed determination. Every failure became a lesson, every setback a stepping stone. Slowly but surely his confidence returned, and so did his success. But just when he thought he had regained control, the storm wasn't over. In fact, it had just begun. Chapter 4. The Silent Test. As Marcus continued to rise, he was presented with a rare opportunity, a chance to work with a prestigious company that could catapult his career. But there was a catch. In order to join, Marcus would have to compromise his values, something he had never done before. The temptation was strong. The promise of wealth, influence, and power clouded his judgment. For a moment, Marcus wondered if he should take the easy route, abandon his principles, and secure his future. After all, wasn't this the moment he had been working for? But the eagle doesn't compromise its flight. It stays true to its path, soaring above the clouds with integrity intact. Marcus realized that this was his silent test, the test of character. He chose to walk away from the deal, even though it meant facing uncertainty once again. The decision was difficult, but it proved to be the turning point of his journey. Not long after, another more aligned opportunity came his way. This time it was built on the same values he had always held dear: integrity, hard work, and a commitment to personal growth. Chapter 5. The eagle's ascent. Years passed, and Marcus had transformed into a man of influence, but more importantly, a man of principle. He had learned the value of patience, perseverance, and, above all, clarity of vision. People began to notice his success, not just because of his achievements, but because of the way he lived his life. One day, standing on the mountaintop that once seemed so distant, Marcus looked out across the horizon. The winds had grown stronger, the challenges even tougher, but he had learned how to use them to his advantage. He had become the eagle. In the distance, Marcus saw others still struggling, still tethered to their doubts. And yet he knew that anyone could reach the heights he had. All it took was the eagle mindset: vision, focus, resilience, integrity, and the courage to never give up, no matter how fierce the storm. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Marcus spread his wings and, just like the eagle, soared into the unknown. The journey was far from over, but now he flew with purpose, always remembering that the sky was never the limit, only the beginning.